This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy New Year. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. I know it's January 6th, but shout out to Remo and Connor for holding it down the last couple days while I was away. It is great to be back. We've got lots to talk about, that is for sure. It should be a fun show today. And, of course, Jets starting a very busy month of January at home tonight. And guess who's here? The Vegas Golden Knights. Very strange team right now. They are first place in the Pacific Division. They won one of their last 9 games. So these are two struggling hockey clubs right now that'll be going head-to-head tonight. Our old pal Gary Lawless is going to join us, and we'll have a wide-ranging conversation with Gary. We'll talk a little bit about the Knights, a little bit about the upcoming Olympics, some of the Vegas players that will be participating. We'll also get Gary's thoughts on the team that he used to cover, the Winnipeg Jets. Of course, Kevin Cheveldayoff spoke yesterday. I did catch the show. I thought you guys did a great job, as did Mike McIntyre, talking about the current plight of the team and the reaction to what Cheveldayoff said and what he didn't say. I will get to all of that coming up in just a few minutes, and a little bit of my own mid-season state of the Jets address. Talking about the situation that they're in, and the options to the club moving forward into the second half of the season once tonight's 41st game of the year is played. And Rennie certainly had his fair share of takes yesterday. Really looking forward to having Sean Reynolds jump on before Gary joins us. JBM a little bit later on. We've got lines. We've got playoff matchups in the National Football League, and we will hit that at the end of the program. Obviously, a huge Happy New Year, and thanks to all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Our pals and partners over at Coolbet. As I mentioned, Jake will come on. Don't forget, gang, if you are still holding out hope to be riding with myself and Geoff Hamilton down in Costa Rica in 3 weeks, tomorrow night, 8 p.m., is the third and final qualifying tournament for the final, which is next Monday. Next Monday's tourney, whoever wins that will have flights, hotel, and entry into the Costa Rica Poker Festival. And should be an amazing time. We'll be doing some content from down there. If you haven't just played any of our poker tourneys but have been planning on it, tomorrow's your chance to do that. 8 p.m. over at Coolbet. We'll have details on our socials, but basically you just want to go get into the poker side of things, get into tournaments, and then search WST. You'll see it. It'll say 3 o'clock the next day just because of where it's set up, but it gets going at 8 p.m. tomorrow. The top 4 finishers will be a part of the festivities next Monday with a trip to Costa Rica on the line. Also want to thank, of course, our friends at the Jets. Don't forget, our next game of the month is on Friday. And listen, hey, it's a Friday night. The Jets and Kings will be going at it. I know things haven't been going well, but if you're a Jet fan, if you're someone that just likes to have a good time on a Friday night, we'd love to see you. We do have early access for the game as well. If you want to join us a little bit early, go to winnipegjets.com/WST and grab a ticket and join myself, Remo, and the gang for what should be a fun night to kick off the weekend. Of course, our thanks to Princess Auto and Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba Battery, our friends at Uptown Alley and Rowley's Transfer, St. Patel Dental Center, Canadian Club, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. We will get to the Clean Line lines for tonight's game from both the Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights side of things. Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, our friends at Little Brown Jug, And of course, a why not question of the day for the gang at Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Welcome to everybody in chat. What's going on? Missed you all. Michael Remis, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Welcome back, Huss. Great having you here. Everyone is dying to hear your laundry list of takes on yesterday. You were definitely missed, but I hope you had a great time off, especially watching that incredible game between the Chiefs and the Raiders on Sunday. Who were the quarterbacks?
It was definitely one of the games of all time.
Yes.
It started off with Chris Olakudin and Kenny Pickett. Pickett lasted a quarter. He was that bad. They then turned to AOC. And the Chiefs in the second half went to a guy I had honestly never heard of him before, Buechele. It ironically, and again, we're going to get into a lot of talk about teams that are near the bottom and draft picks as we start talking about the Jets. It was a bizarre situation in that the Raiders were the likely holder of the number one pick. They'd won 2 games on the season going in. But when the Giants won in the early slate of games, it guaranteed the Raiders the number one pick. So they could actually go out and try and win the game and not, harm their draft pick, which I think was the perfect scenario for the Raider fans. I got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, that team sucks. They've sucked for a while. And they were really into it. And you know what? They were rewarded with a win. It was a bizarre game. There were no touchdowns. There was 8 field goals and a safety. And the winning kick, though, was a nuke, a 60-yarder with just a few seconds left. The fourth quarter actually ended up being quite entertaining. But it was one of those games where the home fans got what they wanted with the win. They already had the number one pick. And I was sitting there quietly for the first time ever, and this is something that might be the case, unfortunately, for Jet fans as we go down the stretch, more than happy with a competitive, fun game that my team ended up losing because the Chiefs get a top 10 pick. They are on the clock at 9 after a very, very disappointing season. So that was fun. I did make a point of watching the Jet games at sportsbooks while I was away. He probably was Chevy speaking yesterday. Didn't spend a lot of time talking about the game in Ottawa or the one in Toronto. But, listen, just kind of more misery. The definition of Murphy's Law, it seems, is the Jets right now on this 9-game losing streak. The Toronto game, you finally get some goal scoring. You're up with a 3-goal lead, and then that falls apart. And obviously the gaffe by Eric Comrie was very, very unfortunate. That cost them points in the standings. Although at the end of all of this, when the season's done, maybe we'll look back at these couple games and say that was maybe a bit of a blessing in disguise, depending on where the Jets finish and where they end up picking. Of course, there was a lot of eyes on the World Junior Championships. I was surprised. I didn't think I'd be able to see the games down in Vegas, but it was on the NHL Network, so the games were available. Was in the book on Sunday night watching that crazy Steelers-Ravens game. And at the same point, right when the crazy stuff was happening in the fourth quarter, the Steelers-Ravens, was that third period of the Czech-Canada game, which obviously ended up, unfortunately for Canada, with them playing in the bronze medal game. Good on the fellas for getting the win yesterday and having something to show for the tournament. But it was fun watching the gold medal game last night, Remo, because we got a chance to see the 2 Jet prospects playing in the tournament. Alphonse Frey, who seems like quite the character, I will say that. He was certainly living it up after winning the gold medal. But last year's first rounder, Sasha Boumedienne, with the game-winning goal. So Sweden wins for the first time in 13 years. Both Jet prospects get a chance to win and successfully do get a gold medal. And I don't know. I always will pay attention to the final and, see what's happening with the Jet prospects. This World Junior, though, felt a little different because of the current plight of the hockey club, where, as crazy as it sounds, we're very much talking about draft picks in early January, Reem.
I think in the past, especially last year, when it was the World Juniors, we're like, the Jets are in first place. They're on a heater. Maybe they don't have the prospects of the past. Like, I want to watch this team dominate in the NHL. And this year, they had their first round pick from this past season playing for Sweden. They had another draft pick as well for Sweden. And, Canada, the storyline where they can't seem to get over the hump, now bounced in 3 straight years. That semifinal Sunday was absolutely incredible, both games. So maybe a bit more dialed in on the juniors. And, yeah, that was a bomb shot by Boumedienne for the winner. And just when you thought Sweden was going to run away with it, Czech said, hey, not so fast, and really put the pressure on at the end. So that was a fantastic finish. Canada gets bronze. And the amazing part of that final is how dominant Sweden was for majority of that game, and how Czech dominated Canada. And Czech had this huge forecheck that Canada, they were flipping pucks out and really couldn't solve. So that part was interesting. I'm curious how Canada is going to retool for next year at the World Juniors, but the final day, yesterday and the Sunday were awesome games. Now you're going to have those games where Canada is favored by a touchdown, maybe not the most exciting, but I'm already counting down to next year where Canada will play Czechia. That's the new big rival, not USA anymore. Canada, Czechia. Watch out for the round robin game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Czechs had a really good squad, and both games against Canada were really fun, exciting games. I mean, you wish that they would have been able to finish the job and make it to the gold medal game. It would have been a hell of a game Canada played in the Swedes last night. But I'll give it to the Canadians. In the past, there has been an element, if it's not gold, it doesn't matter. And we've seen some pretty, lifeless performances in games after, losing in the semifinals. I thought they'd made the best of a tough situation. And, I thought that they handled themselves really well as well. I mean, we've seen in the past, some of these junior players act like, frankly, real sucks, tossing medals into the crowd, not necessarily Canadians. I mean, it's happened with a bunch of the countries. I thought that they played hard. Shout out to the Finns for staying there for the entire ceremony and shaking hands and all that. And, listen, it's better to come back with a bronze medal than nothing. And listen, they lost one game in the tournament. Unfortunately, it was the one that they couldn't afford to lose. But nice performances by Frey and Sacha Boumedienne. And those guys certainly will be part of our conversation throughout the rest of this season, going into the offseason, although there is still half of a year still to go. Which brings me to, listen, just my thoughts on where we're at right now, Reeman. It was, I guess, 10 games ago on the program where they had played 32 games and there was 50 remaining. And I remember saying, okay, I mean, if this team is going to get back into it, you need to be playing well over 500. And we kind of laid it all out, and it needed to start now. Well, what's followed is 9 straight losses. And as we go into this game tonight, game 41 of the season, the Jets are 15-21-4, and they are dead last in the National Hockey League. They're 9 points out of a wild card spot, and there's 7 teams in between them. And I mean, just looking at that number, 15-21-4, this team was 15-1 last year in the first 16 games of the season. So it is almost inconceivable that they are where they are right now. And it's important to note that, this has been done with really strong years from Mark Scheifele, from Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey, still Josh Morrissey. I mean, Connor Hellebuck, while, maybe hasn't been at his Vezina or Hart level, is still Connor Hellebuck. And, the only real significant injury that the team has had of those star players has been the 3 weeks that Hellebuck has been out. So, I mean, it's stunning that they are where they are. Now, I'll get to what Chevy had to say and maybe what didn't say yesterday in a second. But at this point, we have to live in reality. And it is very clear. And if you crank the numbers and realize with 3-point games how hard it is to make up room and pass teams, just look at what happened with the Buffalo Sabres running off that 10 in a row. They're still not in a playoff spot right now. Now, granted, the line is a heck of a lot higher in the East right now than it is in the West. I mean, Pittsburgh, we'll talk about this with Gary, but I mean, Pittsburgh is in the second wild card in the East. They're 8 games above 500. That would have them first in the Pacific. I mean, basically, the West right now is the 3 top teams in the league: Minnesota, Dallas, and the Avalanche, and then everybody else. But there is a gap, and unfortunately, the Jets are at the bottom. And I mean, listen, they have been basically Murphy's Law on ice. I mean, anything that could go wrong outside of major injuries to star players has happened, and it's been wild to see them play the way that they have. And actually, like, I can't say that they haven't been working. They haven't been in these games. You're just finding ways to lose. Now, a huge part of that has been some real whiffs in the offseason. I mean, the guys that came in and, to replace Ehlers and Mason Appleton, I mean, the guys that were leaving at the end of the year. Brandon Tanev, of course, was on the roster in the playoffs at the end of the year. In Jonathan Taves, Gustav Nyquist, Tanner Pearson, and to a lesser extent, Cole Koepke. I've had some time, actually, when he's been in the lineup, but, this is a fourth-line player. I mean, to say that they haven't worked is maybe the understatement of the year. But you have a team right now that is in last place that has a massive hill to climb to get back into the playoffs. So, I mean, I think that this is, and I have no doubt that this is happening. We might not have heard it as much from Kevin Cheveldayoff openly yesterday, but needing to reevaluate where they are at, because this was never, ever part of the plan. And I think it's probably very difficult, both for the organization, maybe even harder for the players, to accept where they're at right now. So, what for the Jets? Being in Winnipeg, the core of their team signed long-term, that's going to be here, and it'll still be very good next year and the year after. Like, what's the best case scenario for the team long-term right now? It's probably to stay where they are. I mean, I know there are some people that said, hey, you want to go out and win every game. And listen, you drop the puck, you're going out there. I mean, hey, I'm buying tickets to all these games. Yeah, you want your team to win. But big picture, if you told me that at the end of the season, the Jets could be where they are right now and would be picking in the top 3, I think that would be the best case scenario for this season moving forward. Now, it's incredible that they are where they are to begin with. I think just chance will have some of these players that have been, that have had no production kind of wake up, or just some good things happen for them. So maybe a few wins come around. I don't think it's going to be enough to really get back into that playoff mix. Now, on the other side of things, what's the worst case scenario for the team? Well, probably to play better, to win more games, but, kind of go from where they are right now, which would likely be a top 5 pick, to playing a bit more respectably in the second half of the season and ended up picking like 11 to 15 and still not being a part of the playoffs. I will remind everyone that even if you get into that second wild card spot, you have the Colorado Avalanche waiting for you, which is, I think, by any measure, probably going to be a short series, although it is sports, and that's why they do play the games. But to me, the best case scenario over January, and I'll bring this back to what Cheveldayoff said yesterday, is that you play this month of January with this group, and you hope that players like a Nyquist, potentially a Tanner Pearson, maybe a few veterans like a Nino Niederreiter, who of course was scratched on the weekend, can get going and maybe resuscitate some of the trade value. I have no doubt that if there was the ability to move one of these players for anything of value, something would have happened up until this point. But I mean, unfortunately, when you have a team that has basically been being carried by a few select players, the trade value of the guys that are here right now is not really that high. In fact, probably rock bottom. And you hope that those individuals might be able to garner something on the market in and around the trade deadline. And presumably, like, assuming the team hasn't gone on a 10 or 12 game heater and is legitimately back in the race, at that point is probably when you're going to hear what a lot of people wanted to hear yesterday, but probably wasn't realistic that they would get, that, you know, we've had to change the path of what the goal was this year, which was to be a real top team, to get into the playoffs, and to have a much better playoff showing, and eventually, you know, hopefully win the Stanley Cup. Like, in my opinion, that's sort of off the table right now. Some people may change their mind, and I know from Chevy yesterday, you didn't hear a white flag, and I wasn't expecting to hear that earlier either. But I do think that has to be part of the conversation right now. Maybe not publicly, maybe not to the players, but, you know, inside, you know, the front office of the Winnipeg Jets. You know, once the trade deadline passes, at that point, for all of those of you, myself included, that would love to see some players from the Moose coming up and playing, I think that's when you're going to see it happen significantly. And listen, unfortunately right now, I mean, the young players, the guys that we feel are sort of really part of the future of this hockey club, I mean, they're not banging the door down. I mean, Brad Lambert has like 2 goals. Braden Yeager's got 4. Colby Barlow's been pretty quiet. I mean, this is, and I'm not even sure that if we get to the trade deadline and say a few of the veterans are moved out, I'm not even sure those are the guys that are going to get called up if things don't change with what they're doing on the ice right now. It might be like a DiGiuseppe, a Figemo. Certainly, I think David Gustafson should be back up. It could be Jad. I mean, there's some guys that might earn their way in to a spot that might, you know, put them in a good spot for a depth position next year on the hockey club. But when it comes down to it, there will be a time that the organization will, maybe more so publicly, do what a team like Vancouver has already done this year and say, this is not exactly our year. It is not our year. And we're looking to build for the future. And hopefully we will look back at this season, as unfortunate and kind of miserable as it's been, and look at this as a blip of a team that has been good, has been contending, and can get right back to it with the potential of a player in the first round, early in the first round, that can really be a key cornerstone of the franchise moving forward. Now, listen, as far as Cheveldayoff yesterday, listen, we've heard a million of these Chevy press conferences before, and you know, listen, it's not his best suit sometimes when he's, you know, talking for a minute about something that could probably be said in 10 seconds. But I mean, I think these are really difficult things for him to speak of. Now, I know he said it starts with him. For people that wanted accountability, him to stand up, listen, I think he feels the accountability. I mean, I could see that and hear it in what he had to say. But at the same time, if what people are wanting him to say is like, yeah, all my ads in the summer have been a disaster for the club, and that's a big reason why we're here. I mean, you're basically running the bus over 4 guys that are wearing jerseys that are going to be out. Like, you cannot do that. You can't operate that way. So if you were hoping for that to be the case yesterday, I mean, think again. Now, at the end of the season, if players are gone and you look back and have to truly, honestly, go over what happened, I'm sure that will be there. And it'll probably be done nicely, if you will. But I mean, what I heard from Cheveldayoff was an acknowledgement that they are nowhere close to where they want to be. I didn't hear a white flag coming up on the season, and I didn't expect there to be one, even though I think probably in their heads they're coming closer to that with every loss that's piled up over this last little while. And we're now in a situation that, you know, you got 8 games at home heading into this Olympic break, which to me is the time that they can hopefully gain some value in some of these assets that they're looking to move on from that right now are probably at rock bottom. And then post-Olympics and post-trade deadline, make a pivot. I mean, the fact of the matter is, it is so incredible that the Jets are 32nd of 32 without losing their star players for a long period of time. Like, if you were set on a high pick, like, the hard part is actually done to be where we are right now. The second half of the season, you could see some younger players. Certainly, I'd love to see Elias Salmonson play regularly in the second half of the season. I think that puts him in a much better situation next year to really hit the ground running in what would essentially be his second year in the NHL, but a first full season, as well as some of these other players that they did out. And I mean, when you look at who's been carrying the team, I mean, one or two injuries or an IR stint, they're from legitimately being a top 3 pick next year. And as I say, I don't see that as a terrible thing for the Jets. What would be a terrible thing is to convince themselves that, hey, the season's not lost. Certainly, I mean, Chevy's not trading the first-round pick or any of these assets. That was one good thing that came out of yesterday that I think was sort of glossed over. They do accept and realize where they are right now. But again, this is the halfway point of the season after tonight. So you're going to have a group of players that'll have the opportunity to go out and hopefully win a few hockey games. I think for individuals, particularly on expiring contracts, like the guys that came here in the offseason, the opportunity to play themselves into a more attractive trade chip that they might end up on a team that is going to the playoffs that could help the Winnipeg Jets get some more assets. And then in the meantime, from the fans, like, I do know that this is very concerning to the organization because they don't want to lose the support of the fan base. They don't want to have a ton of empty seats at these games. And that's a reality. And that's probably more a reality here than in a lot of other places. But big picture right now, when it comes to the hockey product and how positives could come from what's happened so far this year, to me, it is not having a big turnaround. It is getting some ancillary benefits from the opportunities that the situation that they put themselves be in, and then hopefully going to the podium real early and picking whether it's a Gavin McKenna or a Verhaven or the Swede that was so good, Stenberg, and we look back at the 25-26 season as an aberration, as a season that you don't want to have repeated, but one that there is some long-term benefit from. So, listen, and I get it. I mean, I buy tickets like the rest of you. I will be at all the games this week. If you want to vent, I'll be up in the hangar there by section 316 in the intermissions. You're more than welcome to come. Join us for the WST game on Friday. But this sort of happens sometimes in sports. And has it been a disaster of a season? I mean, half season? Yes, it absolutely has. I think we will see over the course of these next 3 to 4 weeks, the team continue to play, and the changes and the moves that everybody wants to be made. I don't think the time is right for it, but there will be a time for it, and it'll probably be in about a month or in the weeks before the trade deadline. And then we'll see what's left of this team, holes in the roster that can be plugged by deserving players coming up from the Moose. And maybe that'll be an incentive for some of these young guys to know that there is an opportunity to maybe get some games later on in the season with what happens with the Jets. And that might give them a boost with what's happening in Manitoba right now. But invite all of your thoughts on these topics in the chat, obviously on social media. And we'll dive in with it with Rennie coming up. But I couldn't help it. I couldn't help but sit in Allegiant Stadium for that game on Sunday and see Max Crosby, their all-pro defensive lineman and best player, who had just been shut down for the last 2 games of the season, out to receive his Player of the Year award, and not think that we could be in a situation like that later on this year. But at the same point, I walked out of the stadium with a whole bunch of Raider fans that were pretty fired up and chanting Mendoza's name because they're going to be on the clock for the first pick. And as we all know, in salary cap worlds of North American professional sports, As much as it sucks to end up in the position where you're getting that high pick, it can often be something that that pays incredible dividends for a long time for the franchise that does well with that pick.
Well said, Hustler. You really had the Apple Notes app rolling there. So, and yes, I think, look, if the Winnipeg Jets are not going to make the playoffs, it would be very beneficial for the organization to land, a top 3 pick rather than, falling just out. We've looked at the prospect pool, the number of draft picks, the upcoming years. If you can get a high-end prospect, that would be a bonus. And it's easy to see when you look at the scoring leaders, you look at the top 10, how many of these guys were picked in the top 3 or pick number 1. And you saw Matthew Schaefer did for the Islanders. You saw Celebrini with the Sharks, Bedard with the Blackhawks. It can be absolutely huge. So that would be certainly a benefit of what has been a very disappointing season, going from President's Trophy to currently 32nd. Now, I don't know if they're going to be 32nd the whole year. You just look at the 1-goal games during this losing streak. You got to get a bounce here or there, but I think they have made their own luck, and you are what your record says it is, and you haven't won consecutive games, since November. The record since then has been pretty poor. You just went on a road trip where they got 0 total points. So we'll see what this homestand provides here starting tonight against Vegas.
Yeah, you know what? And as I said, we're going to talk about this, Rennie, and we'll be able to get in. I mean, I see Nick said if the organization was serious about that type of stuff, I'm not. Listen, we haven't heard that from them. I think that we're going to get to that point, and it's probably, in a few weeks here in January. But they wouldn't be protecting, or is it? They wouldn't be prioritizing 81 and 55 together, or protecting their GM. I mean, listen, the keeping Scheifele and Connor together thing is for the record. I think that I don't think that splitting 81 and 55 up is going to make the team better. Yeah, you're good, Rennie. We'll get to you right away. And as far as protecting their GM, listen, Cheveldayoff, listen, he was in a pretty good spot coming out of last season with the President's Trophy. And, they've had 2 of the most incredibly bad months back to back. I can assure you that the shot callers in that organization are not going to move on from Cheveldayoff on 2 disastrous months based on a body of work that they are very pleased with. And I think Chevy, he takes a lot of heat here right now, and justifiably so. I mean, if you're the GM or you're the head coach of a team that's floundering the way the Jets are, I mean, it's all fair, but to completely blow it up like a lot of people want to, I mean, it would take so much more for that to happen. So, I mean, I guess we can sit around talking about it, but I'm kind of more living in the now about the reality of this season and what's going to happen. And I don't think either of that is going to be the case. The lines, that's a thing for Coach Arneal to talk about. You can debate that amongst yourselves. To be honest, I think that'll happen at some point, and I think we'll see why that didn't happen earlier. And that might be good for the people that want the team to stay in the position that they are. Listen, we're going to bring in Ren in just a second. Let me give a big Happy New Year and thanks to a few of our WST sponsors, including our friends at Uptown Alley. Had a great time over the holidays with a bunch of friends down there. And listen, if you haven't been out there right now in the winter, although it's a little bit nicer today, probably looking for a few more indoor activities, no better place to get out to than Uptown Alley. Tons of lanes for 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling lanes as well, an incredible arcade, games where you win tickets for cool prizes, and phenomenal food and drink available there as well. Perfect spot for birthday parties for kids, teens, or adults, and an amazing venue for group or corporate outings. And our friends at Uptown Alley can take care of all of that. Find out more online at uptownalley.ca. Give them a call at 488-0000. And don't forget that bowl and play special after 9 p.m. every day of the week. Hey, new year, new home. If you're moving this year, make a point of hitting up our pals at Rolly's Transfer, longtime WST sponsors, to take care of you and your move. You know how stressful moving can be? We'll let the experts at Rollies, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, take as much of the stress out of that move as possible. Hit them up at rollies.com and click on request an estimate. Use a promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly and get you a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they have been famous for over 60 years here in Winnipeg and southern Manitoba. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies. Find out more today at rollies.com. I know Jet fans have not been smiling a lot lately based on this losing streak, but if you do need that smile worked on, head on over and see Dr. Terry and the great people at St. Patel Dental Center. Speaking of a long history in Winnipeg, they've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. And they got a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. And would love to take care of you WSTers, as many of you already have. For all your dental needs, or if you're looking for a new dental home for you and your family, make it St. Patel Dental Center. Check them out online and make an appointment at stpateldental.ca. And just before we bring in Rennie, big cheers to our friends at Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Free CFL free agency coming up in about a month, and then we'll start talking about getting back to Princess Auto Stadium and enjoying the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers Canadian Club. In the meantime, while you're at your local beer store or liquor mart, keep your eye out for the limited edition Cranberry Ginger Ale, which was such a hit over the holiday season. It's available now while supplies last. The great taste of Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club, with Cranberry and Ginger Ale. It is phenomenal. All right, Lawless is going to join us a little later on, but let's bring in our pal Sean Reynolds, the very busy Sean Reynolds, who actually will get to reintroduce himself to his family over the next little bit because there's a lot of home cooking for the Winnipeg Jets. Was a busy guy yesterday. Ren, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for jumping on.
Anytime. That's actually not true because I get switched over to the Senators beat for a while now, so I'm back on the road right away to go tackle their Wednesday night hockey game against the Rangers next week and this weekend against in Ottawa. So, but I like the thought. I like the thought of reintroducing myself to the family. It could use some it could use some time. Yeah.
Well, all this grinding you do right now during hockey season just means you get a better summer with the folks out of the city as well.
There you go.
Listen, let's get to it. And by the way, great stuff. If you guys missed it, Sean and Ken did a pop-up yesterday talking about the aftermath, just their reactions to Kevin Cheveldayoff and what he had to say yesterday, and the current plight of the Winnipeg Jets. And Sean, it is stunning that we are talking about a last place team in the National Hockey League right now. When you think about the star power that this team has, I mean, and it's not that Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor have missed 2 months. They've been some of the best and most productive players in the league, and yet the Jets are where they are right now. And, listen, I think there were some things that Kevin Cheveldayoff could have said yesterday that would not have ruffled feathers, if you will, amongst the team that maybe were a little bit missing. And there were some things I think that are probably acknowledged that couldn't have been said, right now. But it was interesting to hear your thoughts, and of course you were there. Let me just ask you this in a nutshell: what do you think, as far as the messaging goes to the fan base, acknowledging where this team is right now? In your opinion, what was missing from the messaging of the general manager yesterday?
I mean, everything. Like I did, we were talking about this and the things that were said, and at one point we were talking about, and we know how this goes if you've watched Kenny and Rennie before. Kenny is, takes a softer approach than I do, and in the course of that softer approach, I kind of switched the okay, well, if you're not going to go from a perspective of this is what they should have said, this is that, whatever. My question then became, for a general manager, if you concede that there's value in interacting with your fan base, coming out at the halfway point of the season, is basically an acknowledgement that there's value in interacting with your audience, having a conversation with your audience, giving information to your audience. So from that perspective, I had asked Ken the idea, and if you want to see his response, you can go back and you can check out the show. But I asked what value Winnipeg Jets fans got from that media availability yesterday, and I would argue there's almost no value to that. And I would argue Winnipeg Jets fans today, are far more upset, far more negative, and far more angry than they were before that media veil. In fact, I think there were a lot of fans that weren't necessarily angry before that, or weren't upset, or weren't feeling negative, that feel more negative because of that. This wasn't just, staying in the same spot and just, which I think is what tried to happen here. Because I think what Kevin Cheveldayoff essentially did is walked into that media availability and tried to wait out the clock and tried to answer no questions, tried to give no explanations of how what has happened to the team has happened. So if you're asking me what's missing, I don't know that I'll specifically say this should have been said, this should have been said, this should have been said, because I don't think that's fair. I'm not in Kevin Cheveldayoff's position. I'm not, in a position where this is how I would interact with the fans, but I don't have anything on the line. Kevin Cheveldayoff does. So I don't know that I would necessarily answer the question as I think this was missing, this was missing, this was missing. I would answer the question by saying, I don't think that there was anything there. I don't think that there was any reason for Winnipeg Jets fans to tune into that.
I'll simplify it. What do you think he could have said that would have had a much would have resonated with fans in a more positive way?
I think when you're walking into a situation like that, what you are looking for is you're looking for an acknowledgement of the historical nature of this, how problematic this is. And you know what? I'm gonna use, and I'm not gonna bring the name of the media member into it, but I'm going to use their words. So these are not my words. I'd like to give them credit, but they haven't given me the right to bring their name into it and say, sure, this is what they say. But it was said to me, they would have walked in and they would have said, look, here as the general manager of the Winnipeg Jets, we've done some really special things. Last year, we acknowledged that not long ago, we were the President's Trophy winners in the NHL. And I'm extremely proud of that. And I'm extremely proud of my people for having accomplished that. And I'm extremely proud of my players for having accomplished that. Now we find ourselves in a place that we never thought we would have been before. And we find ourselves in a place where we're not proud of where we've found ourselves. So right off the bat, if you're doing that, it brings in the idea that, look, not long ago, we did really special things. So if you're looking at me and you're going to be like, this guy, what the heck is he doing? Well, I had just done this historical thing. I just put up a banner in our building that will never get taken down, and that is going to be there forever. And I acknowledge that's special, and I think you should think it's special too. And because I'm asking you to acknowledge that that's special, it's incumbent upon me to acknowledge to you that where we find ourselves now is not a place that we thought we'd be. It's not a place we like being. And then at some point, share what you can of how you got to this, some of the mistakes that you feel were made, and give some kind of general direction and hope to fans of, we acknowledge this is not where we want to be. Steps are being taken. I can't tell you everything because I'm trying to make a trade and I can't put that out there. But what I can tell you is give you what I can give you. At any point, I will give you. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that, okay? And if you do that, at least you bring fans and you let them know that you're acknowledging this, that you've found some problems, and that you've got some idea or direction of how you're going to fix those problems. I don't know what you're reading. I didn't read any of that from the comments that were made.
Yeah, well, no. Listen, I agree with you. I mean, I think that is what was missing. I mean, and he was given the opportunity to kind of, maybe make a statement at the start. And I think that was the miss, to go out and just kind of acknowledge that this is so far beyond where they thought they could possibly be right now. There is a full evaluation going of everything. Now, the one thing I'll say is, I mean, we know why they're here. I mean, there's two huge things. the 4 offseason signings have produced just about nothing. And obviously those are on the general manager. But I think we also have to realize that if he stands up and says that, listen, with what we all know is true, these signings have blown up in our face and have really hurt us this year. These guys are still on the team. Like, that's a very difficult thing to be able to say and basically back up the bus saying, yeah, I own it. I had my worst offseason ever. And they're still sitting there wearing Jet jerseys going out and playing. So, I don't know if that's realistic, I guess is my point.
I'm gonna counter what you're saying here, because in the end, what you're saying is prioritize the players here. Protect the players. Don't bring any of this into this. Now, I will say you can still protect players and hold them accountable at the same time. We saw Rick Bowness do it over and over and over again. Walk up and say, Mark Scheifele needs to be better. And I can say that to you because I just said it to him in the room in there. And I like to bring the boogeyman out into the spotlight and say, this is the problem that we're dealing with.
And that's why we love Bones. He was the best.
So he could have done that. But here's the deal. These players that were brought in that are not producing the way that they were expected to produce get paid a lot of money to do that. They live a dream. Right now, it's not going the way they want, but they are living a dream that a lot of people would give anything to live that dream. And they're living that dream because of the fans who are buying tickets, the fans who are buying jerseys and hats and toques and all those different kind of things. And my counter to you is, if you can't find a way to hold your players accountable at a time so that you are prioritizing your fans. That's what it was about yesterday, Huss. It wasn't about prioritizing Kevin Cheveldayoff and the management team or the coaches or the players. It was about prioritizing the fans, keeping them engaged, making them part of what's happening there. So I hear what you're saying. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to have those conversations, but ducking those conversations says to your fan base, our priority does not lie with you. It lies with the players that we don't want to say the obvious. They're not producing the way we expected. We think they can turn it around, but so far right now we have not got the results that we expected, which is an obvious statement. And if the players can't handle that, well, I would suggest they're in the wrong line of business.
Yeah, listen. I mean, I talk about this stuff nonstop. I mean, on the air with friends and people, in the evenings, when I'm out. And the one thing that, I think you can do it in a way that takes some ownership from an offseason that has not produced anywhere close to the expectations of it. And to me, what I would have said is our results and our play haven't been acceptable this year. We've made some moves in the offseason that haven't turned out as we've liked them, but it's certainly not just on them. We've got a lot of veterans. Like, there's not a lot of guys right now, and top to bottom, I mean, and myself included, the coaching staff, all of that has been to the level that we expect. And this is why it brings me to the month of January. And I don't know whether you agree with me or not on this. I mean, part of the reason why I think that we haven't seen the move that everyone wants to make, sometimes maybe just for the sake of making it, is that the value of the players that Kevin Cheveldayoff has realistically to move could not be lower than they are right now. And the other side of it is, what's happening with the Moose while the team overall is playing better? The guys that you would think that would be the answers to come in, I mean, particularly the young players, Barlow, Yager, Brad Lambert, I mean, with the exception of Elias Salmonson, who I think will be here at some point, whether it's before the Olympic break or afterwards and playing regularly there, are not doing a lot, put it that way. And they're certainly not knocking on the door. So I see this month of January as an opportunity for this team to continue to play. I mean, hopefully win a few games. But to be honest, big picture, I think if you pump Trueserm into a lot of people, not go on some big run, you hope that maybe some of these guys will have something good go for them and resuscitate some level of trade value so you'd actually get something for them, as opposed to just cut them or put them on waivers, send them to the Moose or send them off their way. And then once you get to the trade deadline, like I expect we'll hear from Cheveldayoff in and around the deadline. And if there isn't a massive turnaround one that I'm not expecting, I don't believe you are either.
Nope.
At that point, I think we probably hear some of the things that we know to be true right now at the midway point of the season said publicly after some moves are made with a very clear change in direction for that final 5 weeks of the season, whatever they are, where you're moving in some players. And like, I don't even think that you need to just bring guys up because they were high picks. I mean, even if you're moving off of the players that you can get off the roster and get something for them, because he did talk about the moves that they'd made in the past to help, I mean, obviously we think about the Luke Shen trade with a second rounder that could be like top 35 this year that are there to try to get some picks back a little bit more. Maybe it's younger players that can kind of fit in there. And those final weeks of the season, I mean, play it out, try and play hard, but don't have the roster that you have right now, frankly, that should be capable of winning a hell of a lot more than they are. And then finish where you are right now and try and have this season be an aberration, a really tough one, but some short-term pain for long-term gain with a player that hopefully, if you scout and make the right selection with a very unique opportunity with the high pick, that can make this season look as a necessary period of pain for something that can really help the team in the long term.
Well, there's a lot to digest there. Let me just start with your idea that, maybe 5 weeks down the road, we'll get a little bit more honesty from Kevin Cheveldayoff. And my issue with that right now is I think this is a crucial moment for the fans. You need the fans on board. And by doing that, by not engaging with the fans yesterday, which Kevin Cheveldayoff chose actively not to do. I will not engage with the fans here. I'm going to avoid the questions that are asked, and I'm just not going to give you those answers. If you do that 5 weeks from now, you're basically saying to your fan base, take a seat for 5 weeks, and I'll tell you the truth 5 weeks from now. And whatever reaction you get from the fans, and Huss, you've seen the reaction from the fans. You can read it in your chat room. You're in it when you're talking with people. Fans didn't react well to this. And that's the problem. It's not whether or not Sean Reynolds or Huss or anyone thinks that they did a good job of this. It's what the fans think. And I think it's pretty clear. The fans have made it pretty clear what they think of this situation. So that's what I think of the whole thing of like putting it off till 5 weeks from now. And then you've moved some guys out and then you'll talk honestly about them. I guess
my point is the only thing that I think realistically would have gotten people to be really on side was saying, hey, you know what? It was a full white flag on this season, which I don't think is realistic to happen after 40 games.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But to another point that you were making there is like the interesting part about this is and this is going to be an unpopular opinion with a lot of the fans out there who just want blood, who don't care what happens. They just want to see heads on spikes. But I don't necessarily think that Kevin Cheveldayoff has done a bad job throughout all this, which is why I don't think it's a problem for him to talk about it. Like last year, they felt that they could only get so far in the playoffs, right? They were very close to being eliminated by the Blues. That made them think we need to change our mix here. They lost to Dallas. You've got to make changes. He made changes. He thought they would work. They didn't work. I don't fault a guy for trying. And I thought Jonathan Toews was going to be a really great pickup, and I understood the risk that they took on Gus Nyquist. So I don't fault him for trying. Now, it didn't work out. It's okay to say I tried something. It hasn't worked out the way that I thought it would. Going forward here, I don't know that they've necessarily handled it poorly. One of the things he did say yesterday is they need to be cognizant about bringing guys up too quick. Again, a fan can say, I don't care what happens. I want changes. Bring someone up from the Moose, and they don't realize what every other scout and GM and coach in the NHL realizes, that you can ruin a guy by bringing them up too early. So I don't disagree with the idea that the Jets haven't brought up Brad Lambert or whoever else they've brought up and put them in a situation that could actually damage their future. The key of what the Winnipeg Jets should be doing right now in a present that is not going well is guarding and protecting their future. So I don't have a problem with that. And I'll be honest with you, Huss, to your point, where the Jets find themselves right now, like, let's not make a trade just to make a trade to say that we made a trade. Right now, if the Winnipeg Jets continue on the course they are and they end up finishing very low and get a high pick, and all of a sudden a guy like Stenberg is on their team or McKenna or whoever else, that's not necessarily a bad strategy. So for the people who are running around saying, do something right now, you get to do that because you don't face the consequences of doing something, even if you're just doing something to do something that ends up damaging you. I think Kevin Cheveldayoff took a shot. It didn't work out the way. That's going to happen in hockey. How he's responded, he gave his coach time to get the team to come around. That's what you're supposed to do. There was a tiny window there where I thought if you can make some moves that maybe you can salvage things. But he told us yesterday, Huss, from trying to win now, they don't have the resources that other teams do to make those same moves. So you have to play the cards you're dealt. Hey, are they dealing, or are they playing with those cards from their past decisions? No doubt they are. But I don't look at what Kevin Cheveldayoff's done here and say he's messed this up, he's messed this up, he's messed this up, he's messed this up. He tried a new philosophy in the offseason. It hasn't worked. It has colossally blown up. And that's problematic, but it's happened. Now you have to handle the situation going forward, and maybe getting a potential generational type player and a top 3 pick is the best thing that comes out of this season. And that's why it's okay. I think it's okay for Kevin Cheveldayoff to talk openly and honestly about those things, because I personally don't think that he's done a bad job with this. He made one big mistake. He overshot. It hasn't worked out. But other than that, you can talk about being a GM, and I think it's, if you respect your audience and if you think your audience is an educated audience, I think it's okay to talk above board with them.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with that as well. And listen, for all the talk, and I know T. Konopoli just fired Chevy in the chat. Thanks for the super chat, T. Konopoli. I mean, from the words of Mark Chipman, Chevy's not going anywhere. And listen, maybe that could happen at some point, but there's no way that 2 terrible months in an important season is going to be, boom, all of a sudden we're doing complete 180 and canning them. But I will say this, to your original point about, kind of me saying, well, what was missing? What could have been better? If you have that sort of job security, which I think we all agree he does, you have the opportunity to be a little bit more frank and honest. And it just didn't seem that they wanted to go there. Let me ask you this. I mean, I believe that the season is toast. Yeah. I believe you do. I believe most people do. I mean, all you need to do is just do the math on what it would take to get back into the mix, the legitimate mix, never mind actually getting to a playoff spot. And I do maintain the worst case scenario for this season would be to, you got a 4-game win streak here, a 5-game win streak here, and you just get in to be good enough to be playing meaningful games in the last 2 weeks of the season, and you're picking 13th or 14th overall. Right. That's the worst case scenario right now for the Winnipeg Jets. Do you think, even though, I mean, I guess I get it if they don't want to wave the white flag on the season, which I wasn't expecting as much as many of us are, and trying to guide going inside the closed doors of that. How are they there, or how close do you think they are to coming to the realization that many of us had that unfortunately this is a lost season for the Winnipeg Jets, and the course needs to change to, as we've said, basically to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, for lack of a better term?
I think they already are. And I think what the Jets have landed on here was, at one time they were going to give this team time to figure it out because they thought that things could click and they were going to get there. And now I think this is what I would call an inactive tank. They don't need to do anything to tank. They don't need to send players out the door in order to tank, because what they're doing right now is it's already working, right? So you don't need to do that. But I think the Jets are there. I think they realize that. And I agree with you 100%. The best case, listen, I was just crunching a little bit of numbers here. If the Jets were to become a 750 win percentage team right now, that's not happening. let me just be clear to you, that is not happening. It would make them on par with the only two teams in the NHL are at that level, the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. So if the Winnipeg Jets, who are 11 points out of a playoff spot right now, were to go 750 till the end of the season, they would need one of those two teams to basically be a 500 hockey club. That's not likely to happen. But even if it did, you would need the 7 teams in between you and a playoff spot to also tank as well. And we've had perfect examples of why that's almost impossible to happen, Huss, because last night the Seattle Kraken played the Calgary Flames, and one of those teams has to win. And in the West, teams above you are playing each other, and one of them is going to have to win. So you would need to put together a mathematical algorithm that would make you a Facebook billionaire for this team to lose on this night, but win on this night. And I need them to lose because they need to lose to that team, and so on and so forth. It's over. So I think the Winnipeg Jets are already there. I think they understand it. I don't think they want to say it out loud. I think there's pride involved, but I also do think, Huss, and this is important, the Winnipeg Jets, the genesis of who they were starting out in 2016-17 to becoming the team that has been, a team that is pushed for a lot of years here, was that they didn't give up, and they pushed and they fought. And 2017, I remember doing the very last game of the season, they put a whooping on the Nashville Predators, who that cost the Nashville Predators 3rd place in the conference, and they fell to 8th place. We thought they were done. They ended up going to the Cup final that year. But I interviewed Blake Wheeler on the bench afterwards, and he had talked about the importance of fighting right until the end and giving your fans an honest effort and all those kind of things. So the Winnipeg Jets can't be an organization that says we're waving the white flag, because it's against their nature, it's against their values. So I think what's happening right now is there's a little bit of, let's just keep doing what we're doing here, but keep saying to the players, you can turn this around. But what that's probably going to end up being is a team that has shown over the last 2 months that it isn't able to get things done. That'll keep happening. The Jets are, and I get the difference between the way you and I think about this is you're thinking there's certain things that Kevin Cheveldayoff just cannot concede. I agree with you. I think I've got more leeway to the things that I think he can concede than you think, but I do agree the Jets cannot concede that we are a team that's tanking right now because it goes against their values, and I think it harms their culture. And I would agree with that based on what they've done in the past.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, as someone that's in the seats, that's buying tickets, that, wants this team to do well, it is a bizarre scenario to kind of be fine with your team losing. And, there's nothing worse than going out and paying big money for a ticket and having a team no show or not trying. That's been the crazy thing about this. They play hard every night.
Agreed.
They make some terrible mistakes, and they manage to lose by 1.
It's weird.
I mean, it's like, I'm not leaving these games going like, I can't believe that was such a pathetic effort. Like, that's not the case. Yeah. It's just, they're getting no results whatsoever. Yes. Yeah. Now, about this, and this is why I keep going back to a month of trying to, an opportunity at least, to resuscitate some trade value of some players that don't have a lot of it right now that might be useful for other teams around the deadline, is that knowing that is going to be coming, the one thing, and again, this is not something we would normally talk about, but when we're talking about the inner workings of this team and the organization, I'll bring it out right now. If I'm Cheveldayoff, or whether this is I would probably do it myself, actually, to talk to the Moose players at some point over this next little bit and saying, listen, we're acknowledging that this is probably not our year, and there are going to be some changes coming, probably in and around the trade deadline. So this is a message to every single one of you in this locker room. You've got 4 or 5 weeks to put your best foot forward, because there will be opportunities going forward, and maybe to get some of the hunger in some of these younger players that might be able to, resuscitate tough seasons for them and put themselves into the mix for the call-up, because they're not going to do it not just because you were picked at this level. They're going to do it because you're showing that you're ready to wear an NHL jersey and show what you've got going on. So, and then obviously when we get to the deadline, I think we're going to see some players moved, or if there is just simply no market for them, eventually waived to make way for some different guys. I think we'll see a different roster down the get-go. Wouldn't be surprised if some guys with some nagging injuries ended up on IR, and then you see where you got for you see what happens when the draft lottery happens after we've all done it a million times over the course of the next 3 months as we get closer to the end of April.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Here's one thing that stands out to me, Huss, is because they're an older team. This would make sense from like a scientific point of view. It takes longer for older players to recover. This is what happens. Eventually, an older player stays good, and then we find that they typically drop off. And if you were looking for a scientific explanation of that drop off, what it is older players need a certain amount of time to recover. And once you get to a certain age and your body responds a certain way, there just does not become enough time in an NHL schedule for the body to recover properly and be at your prime. That's how guys age out. That's how Father Time wins all battles. The one thing that I find is concerning here, Ken, is I thought the Winnipeg Jets, the oldest team in the NHL, came out of a 5-day break, which is really weird at Christmas time, that they started playing some of the, now I know they didn't get the results, but they were looking pretty darn good for a couple games there until I feel like they kind of hit a wall in that last game against the Ottawa Senators. And I truly do believe the reason for that is a lot of the older guys on the team got 5 days of recovery. It looks good on them. They came out hot in the first 1, 2, 3 games or so. So one thing I wonder about that could clash with what you're talking about there, Huss, is if I'm right, the Winnipeg Jets are going to go on a big near month-long break for the Olympics, and then they're going to come out, and I think you're going to see the best version of the Winnipeg Jets coming out of the Olympics, because the older guys on this team will be rested and able to perform at their best. And
it's all part of the plan, Rennie. That's like 10 days before the trade deadline. Have them come out, feel great right before the deadline, and then maybe you can get something for a few of these guys.
So that would maybe work if those guys start going and you think, yeah, he's still got it. See, and I know the beginning of the season wasn't like that, but if you don't move those guys, now all of a sudden it becomes tough to start moving them out of the lineup and moving young guys in. So it's an interesting season. It's an intricate season because of all the things that are going on here. But to me, it's a lot of what you're talking about is a lot of rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. That's how I would describe that going around down the end here. So I don't know. It'll be fascinating to see. And again, there's a lot of people who just want to see change, and I understand that as a fan. I empathize with Kevin Cheveldayoff and how he's had to handle this season, and the way that he would probably like to make moves, but doesn't have necessarily the future capitals. And should he be bargaining his future for this present? He shouldn't be doing that. To me, that's a definitive answer. So
he sort of owned that as well. It said, we're not in a position to do that, and they definitely aren't.
They're not.
That was one thing that I was happy that we heard yesterday.
Yes.
Anyways, great convo, pal. Thanks so much for the time again. Check out the pop-up from yesterday on the Kenny and Rennie channel if you haven't checked it out already. And enjoy the game tonight, and safe travels out to do some Sens work.
Yeah, it's been too long, Huss. If I'm being honest, I missed you. So it's good to see you again.
Dude,
hope you had a great Christmas, and hope you had have a happy New Year.
I'm looking forward to chatting with you when you get back, my friend.
I was going to say, isn't there a Larry David bit in one of his shows about what's the cutoff for Happy New Year's? I feel I'm violating it. So I'm promising, will be the last person I wish Happy New Year.
My first show back after being away for a couple days, so we're still, I said it at the start as well, but yes, this is we're now, much like the Jets, we're now into 2026. We have to accept where we are and govern ourselves accordingly.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Take care. There's Sean Reynolds of Sportsnet, and of course, Kenny and Rennie. And the boys fired up a pop-up last night, and it is available over at the channel. We're going to talk to Lawless in a couple. which should be fun with the Vegas Golden Knights here. They are not playing very well. I mean, yes, they're still at the top of the Pacific Division. Might say a lot about the Pacific Division as well. But I do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto for their wonderful support of WST for so many years and into 2026. Of course, Princess Auto is synonymous with Winnipeg. Founded here in the Peg, headquartered here in Winnipeg, and now serving Canadians coast to coast with 3 Manitoba locations to serve you. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West in the city, and out in Brandon as well for our friends in Westman. Princess Auto is where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new for 2026 is waiting for you at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in store or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. It is good times out in Gimli right now for our friends at Chud's Power Sports. Got to tell you that Chud's is the power sports superstore in Manitoba, doing it for over 80 years with not only the most incredible selection in ATVs, UTVs, boats, snowmobiles, RVs, ice houses, Argo and Sasquatch vehicles, golf carts, dirt bikes, but the best and most experienced staff to get you the right purchase at the best deal as well. Not to mention, they've got the best selection of parts around. If you check out TrueNorthParts.com, amazing deals on gear and accessory clearances as well. But with snowmobile season here, it is time to hit the trails, start the year in adventure, as the holidays might be over, but winter is just getting started at Chud's Power Sports. Up in Gimli, Highway 8 and 231, and of course online at chudspowersports.com. Looking forward to our Chud's Power Sports Power Polls this week, heading into NFL playoff week number 1. And hey, Happy New Year to Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery as well. While it's nice outside right now, we know what's coming up over the next couple months. It is the teeth of the Manitoba winter. Make sure you're not that guy on the side of the road calling your buddy for a boost saying, oh man, I thought my battery was good to go. Pop by Manitoba Battery, either location, Logan Avenue or Dover Court Drive, for free battery testing. And if you do need a new battery for your car or truck, you'll be guaranteed the best prices in town on the battery, beating the pants off the big box stores with the best in customer service that Manitoba Battery is famous for. Logan Avenue, Dover Court Drive. You can also order online at manitobabattery.com, and they'll deliver those batteries to your doorstep anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. All right, we will get to the clean line lines coming up after we speak with Gary. Jets and Vegas tonight, 7 o'clock p.m. This is a busy week for Winnipeg. You got the Vegas tonight. You've got Edmonton on Thursday, the Kings on Friday, and then a Sunday matinee against the New Jersey Devils before the Islanders are in on Tuesday. So lots of games to talk about here on Winnipeg Sports Talk over the next little bit. But with the Vegas Golden Knights in town, how could we not chop it up with my old running partner, Gary Lawless? What's going on, boss? How are you?
Got to break out my flannel and my my shearling. The players are all, whenever I wear this jacket, they're like, oh, the Winnipeg collection. They get a big chuckle out of it because this jacket doesn't get a lot of use in Las Vegas.
You know,
nice to see you, Andrew.
Yes, well, it's nice to see you too. My timing of that football trip wasn't very conducive with your home schedule. So I did miss you over the weekend.
Well, we all know that you planned it that way. Oh, look, Gary's out of town. I'll slip in. I don't have to go see the family.
What do you mean? We're going for dinner next time I'm in town.
Can be a complete degenerate down on Fremont.
After the Carbone dinner last time, I was kind of hoping it would work, but it was fun. Listen, you know, we'll get into. I do want to ask you about just where the Jets are at right now, and obviously. Yeah. But I'm just looking with 1 win in the last 9. This is not exactly a hot streak for the Knights. Where are the visitors at coming into tonight?
Yeah, this is had they not got a point in Chicago the other night, it would have been the worst 9-game stretch in team history. As it is, it's just tied for the worst 9-game stretch. So Jack Eichel just coming back from an injury. They're missing both Theodore and McNabb, which is their top pairing. And William Karlsson's been out for a long time, and Aiden Hill as well. So, it's a weird year. Like,
tell me about it.
Like Vegas has gone through this terrible stretch. They're still first in the Pacific. Like going into action tonight, they're first in the Pacific. So now you could argue, okay, over this 9 games when they haven't played very well, there hasn't been any damage done. That's not the case. A lot of teams have caught up that are, just behind them now. So I'll have to say this. We're a month away from the Olympics, from the Olympic break. March is going to be insane because, I don't believe the Jets are out of the playoffs. I know they're last place, and it's a long way to go. Connor Hellebuck gets hot, or something happens, and they go on a run and win 6, 7, 8 in a row. They're right back in it, and I think this team is capable of that. We'll see. They've got to do it, and they haven't yet, but I do think it's there. I just think March is going to be, every night is going to be a playoff game. There's a lot of stuff about the international schedule, playing in the Olympics every 4 years and the World Cup every other 4, like 2 and 2. There's a lot about it I don't like. I think it affects the hockey in the National League that is, that fans pay to watch in person and on television. I think we got to be careful to protect that, because that's the bread and butter. Let's be honest. It's the National Hockey League, not the Olympic Hockey League or the World Cup Hockey League. And the Olympics to me is rinky dink. They don't even have a building yet. They don't have a rink yet. I don't understand. Like, I went to 4 Nations face off, and I went to the Olympics the last time that they had NHL players in 2014. The good folks at Hustler and Lawless sent me to Sochi, Russia, and it was fantastic. But I wonder what we're doing to the real product, which is the NHL. So we'll see.
Yeah, listen, no one's going to come to their senses because of the lost money. But let's face it, the schedule is already too long, and you crank it into, with a month less time to pull it off. And there are some drawbacks, but I don't care if this tournament was played on outdoor ice in Oak Bluff. We need best on best. It's been too long.
We do, and we should have best on best. We should be, God forbid I would say this, but I will. We should be like soccer. The World Cup should be played every 4 years, and on the Olympic cycle, we should send the Spengler Cup guys should go to the Olympics, or like soccer does. I think it's U23, 23 and under.
It's a little different,
Yeah. So that then the Connor Bedards of the world and the Schaefers that didn't make Team Canada would be going to the Olympics, and to me that's a preferable way of doing it, because having the best players in the game go to an international event in the middle of the season every second year, they already carry a huge burden. And then you'll have the loser point people that are against the shootout and overtime. You'll have them arguing, we got to play 10 minutes of 3-on-3 so there's no shootout, and that's the top end guys as well. Like, when's it end?
Yeah, at a certain point, you can only squeeze so much of the top players. And
exactly.
There is. Speaking of the Olympics, 3 Canadians, Marner, Theodore, and Winnipeg's Mark Stone. Yeah. Just quickly, tell us about Stone. I know he'd been out. There were some questions whether he'd be there. The numbers speak for themselves, what he's doing so far this year. But little thought on the Knights for Canada, but as well as the other Olympians.
There were no questions with Team Canada. Mark Stone was always on this team. I wrote a story a couple weeks ago, and Mark was diplomatic and sort of said, yeah, you know what I mean? I guess I got hurt, so we'll see what happens. But every game he's been in, I think he's got a point in every game he's played this year, except for 1, maybe 2. like 2 at the most, and lots of multi-point games, scoring lots of goals, doing all kinds of great stuff. So I like his quote to me was, "I'd rather be the 14th guy there than being on a beach in the Bahamas." So he just got the right attitude. He'll go there. He's not worried about his ice time. Not worried if he plays every game. He actually said, he goes, I can go up and down your lineup, but he goes, and this is stupid of me to say, but I can also go in and out of your lineup. If you don't play me one night, it's not going to affect my game. I've gotten so good because of the injuries at being able to step right back in and play at a high level. I could do that for you. He goes, I'm not advocating to be the 13th or the 14th forward, but if that's the case, I can deal with that, and I can help the coach if he decides to put me in.
Marner seemed like a lock for the team right at the beginning of the season. He's in his new home. What's Mitch in Vegas been like so far, and how's he looking as we get towards the Olympic break?
He's been an excellent point-of-game guy, and has really fit in. Stone was hurt, then Eichel was hurt. Now Carlson's been hurt for a while. I'm going to figure out where everybody fits, and I still Cassidy said that it's going to be a work in progress. I think they have to. Mitch is a winger, but he's a winger who he plays like a center in the offensive zone. He holds the puck, he distributes. It hasn't been seamless in terms of finding the right people to play with him. He's adjusted to the Golden Knights. I don't think the Golden Knights have adjusted as well to him as they could have, or as they will, because eventually it'll come together.
What's the goaltending situation like in Vegas right now? I mean, obviously Adin Hill was a guy that we thought would probably be on the team. He's been another guy that's been hurt. You guys getting the saves?
Yes and no. Like Carter Hart's been really good. Schmidt has been really good. But the numbers are, their save percentages are both in the 800s, not in the 900s. And of late, Vegas has allowed, like against Chicago, they only allowed 3, but prior to that, they'd allowed 4 or more in like 7 of 8 games. So, and you can't put it all on the goalies. There weren't a lot of bad goals in that stretch. There were situations where, one game they lost to Colorado. They had 3 own goals. They had 3 pucks go off their own players to get behind Carter Hart in that game. So it can tighten up for sure. I think it will.
Gary Lawless is with us ahead of the Golden Knights and the Jets tonight at Canada Life Centers. The Jets kick off a very busy month of January at home. Gary, it was interesting. So last night I'm in Vegas and I'm flicking around and we're watching the local sports, and they're mentioning that the Chicago game and Bertuzzi comes back and wins, and they didn't really mention the recent struggles of the team. It's a very different story here in Winnipeg, as you can imagine. And listen, Kevin Cheveldayoff, met the media at the halfway point. There's been lots of discourse about that. Listen, I know you're working for another team, but you know this market very well. You know the fan base well. You know the people involved. I mean, how shocked are you that the Jets are where they are? Because this isn't just a team on the outside of the playoff line. This is 32 of 32.
Yeah. I understood what Chevy did in the summer. He tried to get a little more mature. They're all guys with really good pedigrees. Pearson, Taves, Nyquist. And none of those guys have done what he needed them to do. And is that on the GM? I guess to a certain extent. I think Scott Arniel is a really good coach. To me, this is all about the players in Winnipeg. They're not getting it done. And Chevy, I watched his presser yesterday, and I kind of thought, what do you want him to say? Something Logan Stanley just about killed me. Puck just came off the crossbar and went over the net. It's only 40 games. Did you want him to bail on the season yesterday? Did you want him to say, hey, that's it? I'm going to trade whoever I can trade and get some draft picks, and we're going to bottom out. Like, how would Mark Scheifele had reacted to that? How would Connor Hellebuck have reacted if Kevin Cheveldayoff had to come out yesterday and said, yeah, that's it, I'm throwing in the towel? Like, I guess the one thing, and Chevy, and I think he's a fantastic general manager. He has more limitations. I have to say this the right way, because I love Winnipeg, but it's the reality is reality. Anybody with a no move has Winnipeg on the list. Anybody with a 10-team list has Winnipeg on the list. It's the only way he can bring guys in mid-season is if they're in the hunt, like Tyler Toffoli, right? That's the only way he can get those deals done. He never gets the cream of the crop in free agency. They're not coming to Canada. They're coming to Ottawa. They're not coming to Winnipeg. They might go to Montreal if they're French Canadian. Some guys will go to Toronto, but it's what he's accomplished. And I know he hasn't won a Stanley Cup and hasn't been to a Stanley Cup here, but I think he's done a ton under remember when Glenn Sather was the GM in Edmonton, and everyone used to always, probably no one listening to this does, it shows how old I am. But when Glenn Sather was the GM in Edmonton, after Gretzky and Messier and Coffey and Curry, after all these guys had left to go cash in the U.S. and make big bank, he still managed to put really good teams together and to be competitive. And then they went on a really bad slide and then got Connor McDavid and climbed out of it. Like Chevy works under a real similar situation as that they don't spend to the cap. Like this year, they're not at the cap. And with money going up, the cap going up everywhere else, and the economics not changing in Winnipeg, it's going to be hard for him. And it really shocks me the disregard for what he's done here. Easy for me to say I don't live here, I don't work here, but they won the President's Trophy last year, and they're going through an obviously terrible stretch. I see that as well. Still got a bunch of really good players, good core that is locked up. It's not like they're bottoming out. This team, if this team doesn't rebound this year, they will next year. Like their core, Scheifele, Morrissey, Connor, Hellebuck. Who am I missing?
Josh Morrissey.
I thought I said Morrissey. They've got a ton of really good players here that he managed to lock up for a long time. The other thing is that this is Gary Bettman's NHL. The parity that exists here. Like, I don't believe Winnipeg's out of the playoffs. I don't believe there's a team in the NHL that is out of the playoffs. The Buffalo Sabres were dead and buried 2 weeks ago. They're right there. Well, they're right at the line right now. And I believe that the Jets could still pull that off. Whether or not they do remains to be seen.
They rattled off 10 in a row.
Yeah.
And they're still outside of the playoffs. And the Jets have more of an uphill climb. Now, the one positive thing for the Jets, if you still are holding on to playoff hope, is the fact that, the West is a lot weaker in and around the middle. You've got the best three teams right now in the league are all in the Central Division. Colorado is, just nuclear. Dallas and Minnesota are there. And then there's basically a drop-off. You look at where the wild card spot is in each side. To get a wild card spot in the East right now, Pittsburgh's holding down that final spot. They're 8 games above 500. Well, 8 games above 500 would be first place in the Pacific Division right now.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not.
That being said, the Jets are 9 points out of a playoff spot, and there's 8 teams in between them. Well, listen, we can debate the math of all of this.
After tonight, I'm more than happy for them to go on a real nice roll. After tonight,
yes.
Let's get it to 10 in a row tonight, and then we can kickstart the 10 in a row after. It's just, I don't know.
I sort of agree with what you're saying, that there's no way they were just going to roll out a white flag at the 40-game mark.
So who would you call up?
Pardon me?
Who would you call up? Like, that's the other thing. They're like, why don't we call some guys up from the American League? Who would you call up?
You know what? I mean, listen, Parker Ford,
First of all, there's no roster space, right?
Brad Lambert's right. Well, there's plenty. You could make it quite easily, I think, is the argument that many people
how would you make it?
Waiving about a handful of guys that have done nothing so far.
So you waive a 10-year guy. You know the impact that can have on the reputation of an organization.
Okay, so then we bring this up
next summer.
Dive in on that.
Yeah,
so a guy gets signed on a 1-year deal, goes through an entire season not producing, and the team's losing, and you say,
so
okay, we don't have a taker. There's no one that wants you. I mean, isn't that just pro sports? I mean, you guys are a pretty cutthroat organization in Vegas. It's kind of an interesting.
Hello, we're Las Vegas. Sorry, there's a difference. You can't act like you're New York City if you're not. That's just like you just said. It's pro.
So what if you're in a small market? You just have to suck it up and have guys come in and not do anything. I mean, I don't know if I'm not on board on that.
I'm not saying that, Andrew. Obviously,
well, you're basically saying you can't cut or waive a guy that's not producing because you're Winnipeg. I mean, are you in the NHL or not? We have this conversation. We've had it for over 10 years, Gary.
Yeah, I just think that there are realities, and you waive a guy like that, like a 10-year veteran, and you waive him, and he ends up, somewhere he doesn't want to be, and then in the summertime you're trying to sign another guy just like him, and the agent says, yeah, he doesn't like the way you handled things with Paterson last year. We're going to go to Carolina, or we're going to go to wherever. You know what I mean? Like it's a small world, and every action has a reaction. Now, it's easy for me to say, or the guys that work for the newspapers here, or whatever, or you to say, hey, just waive them. I'm just telling you, I think that there are consequences to some of those maneuvers.
Yeah, listen, I think every decision there's consequences with, and or every non-decision, if you will, or decision to kind of kick it and punt it down the road. I'll tell you, I mean, listen, my read of this, and we talked about this on the show today. I mean, where this season is, and I think you could tell that. I think there is an acknowledgement that where the team is right now. Like after 32 games, they had a big uphill climb, and then they've lost 9 in a row. I mean, they're pretty much getting themselves into, barring a big winning streak that literally starts tonight, an impossible task to get back into it. And many would say, and you talked about being Winnipeg, what's the best case scenario for this season? It's probably for the Jets to have a top 3 pick in the draft.
Well, so let's discuss that for a second, right? Like this guy, Ivor Stenberg, who kind of climbed from the top 2 or 3 to number 1 during the World Juniors. So he's moved past McKenna.
We'll see.
Although I think it's going to be preference. Like I think the first 3
McKenna
teams,
had a down tournament and had 14 points.
Yeah, I think the first 4 or 5 picks. I think you've got Caleb Malhotra, the Swede Stenberg, the big defenseman Verhoff, the kid in the USHL, Tynan Lawrence, and of course McKenna. Those 5 guys. I think whoever picks first, it'll be we want a D. We're taking Verhoff. I think the success of Schaefer in the NHL this year is probably not taking a D number 1 overall hasn't happened a lot, and the way Schaefer has transformed the New York. Take that for an example. Look at the Islanders last year. Everyone was like, they're terrible. Get rid of Lou. Do this. Do that. They win the lottery. They draft Schaefer. Where are they today? They're like they're a playoff team.
Yeah, listen, there and he is. I mean, that's the thing. That's a special player that you've got under team control for a long time. That's the sort of thing Winnipeg needs. Like I'm with you.
Didn't Winnipeg's draft pick score the winner for Sweden last night?
Yeah, Boumediene. Yeah, first their first pick last year.
They've got don't they have 5 guys that were on that team?
They have 2. They had 2, and those are really the 2 guys in the tournament. I mean. But the bottom line is just about this season, this season and this. Like, you can. My read on this is the reason why they're not making any big moves right now is that they're giving. Like, here's the other thing: you can try and trade guys. Like, never mind the waiving players. Just like, okay, you're out. We're calling a guy up. Thank you for your service. You would like. And Chevy talked about this yesterday. They've given up some draft capital, including their second pick, which could be a real high one this year. Yeah. In the quest to improve their team in previous years. Like right now, they would love, I think, to make some moves. But I mean, the guys you'd be literally trading at rock bottom if there's even a taker. Like this month to me, heading into February in the Olympic break, is not only an opportunity to maybe get on a bit of a roll, but if that doesn't happen, you have to hope that just sooner or later, one or two of these guys is going to start scoring, and maybe their value will be a little bit restored, that when they go closer to the deadline with less of responsibility of contracts for teams to take over, they actually have a little bit more trade value, because it's pretty clear that it's not there right now. Because I'd argue that, and this goes back a month, if some of these guys, especially the ones on one-year deals, if there was an interest or there was a want anywhere else in the league, that deal would have been made already.
Well, depending on what was coming back the other way, and if the person was
literally
willing to come
anything. Literally anything. No, I'm talking even a draft pick, like just to open up the spot.
Yeah, so I don't think he can do that yet. Like, I do think there will be a point in time when he can look his core in the eye and say, okay, guys, we got to reload for next year. And it's not on him. Like, it's got to be on, like the players are the ones that are losing the games right now, not the general manager. General manager put this group in place. They're very, like, how different are they from the team that won the President's Trophy last year?
Well, I mean, there's some key forwards that are gone, and God knows I don't want to. Who's gone? Well, Nikolai Ehlers.
Yeah.
Mason Appleton is gone, was a big part. Yeah. Now, he basically got run out of town by half the fan base, and now I'm getting tweets going, oh, man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I miss Appleton. Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes be careful what you wish for. The bottom line is, and I mean, this goes back to, your conversation.
Do you get any of those tweets about me?
Like, which ones?
Like, hey, we ran Lawless out of town. I wish he was still here.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't get any of those. Well, you certainly didn't get run out of town. You jumped ship.
Teasing. Oh, Andrew. Yeah. That hurts.
But yeah, no, listen, I mean, it is a really tough spot that they're in right now. And I get it. People wanted a complete open book yesterday. I think there's some things that, Well,
he answered everything he was asked. If you just didn't like the answer, like that's something else. I don't know.
No, but bottom line is, I don't think that it was really like the full. As I said, I know that they're disappointed. We just said it. There's some things that you can say right now, and there's others that you probably can't. And
you should have delayed it 10 games. But no one would have been happy if you had done that.
No, listen. The next time we hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff, barring, going on a 12-game heater and legitimately being in the playoffs, is going to probably be significantly different. It'll be around the trade deadline. They'll see what they can do. Because here's the crazy thing about it, Gary, and I'm with you. And this is why I think you can look at this season, hopefully, as an aberration, because you've got Hellebuck, you've got Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, Morrissey. Like, they've done all this with basically no significant injuries to the top guys, with the exception of 3 weeks. Like, they've done the hard part. If you wanted a top 3 pick, they've done the hard part to get to this point.
This isn't a gut and rebuild. And you know what? Listen, let's say they do suck the rest of the way, and they get a lottery pick, and they get one of these guys that immediately they can put right into their lineup, and they get like a like a boost of nitrous oxide through the draft, you might look at this year as a bonus.
Absolutely.
As this was great for us. We weren't going to win the cup. We figured that out. So, we did get a lottery pick and we made best use of it, and it was good times for us.
No, I think most people. I mean, listen, the fans here are relatively.
No, I've read some ridiculous stuff.
What, to trade the first rounder right now to get some help and see if you can maybe get up to 26th overall in the league?
Owner needs to sell the team. General manager needs to be fired. Coach needs to be fired. Let's tear down the rink and build a new building.
Yeah, well,
tomorrow.
Again,
fantasy land.
That is pro sports. You'll always have when your team's in last place. Don't expect everyone to be, hey, it's all good, because obviously it is not right now. You know what? I'll worry about those problems. You can see if you can get your second win in 10 games tonight. I will look forward to talking to you about the Olympics, though. Lots of big. Just quickly, outside of the Canadians, who else is going to be in the tournament? Obviously, Jack Eichel.
Jack Eichel and Noah Hannafin for the U.S. The three guys we just mentioned for Team Canada. Tomas Hertl was named to Czechia just this morning. Jonas Ronbjerg, who's playing in the American League for the organization, was named to Denmark's team in the summertime. And Akira Schmid, Switzerland has not released their roster, and so Schmid is not officially on that team, but he's the best Swiss goalie in the NHL. So he's not Swiss.
What about
cheese.
Big Save Dave? The disrespect.
Is he from Switzerland?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Sorry. I apologize for that. Akira Schmid is better than Big Save Dave.
You know what? Big Save Dave.
Oh, he's had a good year.
He is happening. He's got a 248 goals against. Save percentage is 907. I mean, not bad.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, they're doing well. Anyways, listen, great to talk to you. Let's do this again before the Olympic Games. Are you going to be there?
Hold on.
Are you going to Italy?
No, I'm not. And my daughter, her high school hockey team is in the playoffs. So I get to go, we're on the road somewhere, fly back to Vegas on the 6th, and then I get to put on my hockey parent hoodie. And you should see me, Hustler. I've got the big crest on the front, and I have my coffee, and I sit with all the dads and chinwag, and it's so much fun.
Do you have a team jersey with number 1 and dad on the name bar on the back that you wear to the games?
No, I'm not a loser.
I thought you'd really lean into it. Like you leaned into your Santa act on the
I do lean into it. I help organize the pizza after the games. It's like the first year she played hockey in Vegas, I got not carried away, but like there were some things that I didn't like, and I may have mentioned them, and I was politely told, you know what, everyone in Vegas knows who you are and knows your involvement with hockey. You should probably shut up. So that's what I've done. You get tempted to yell at the refs. I never do. I'm like, and I said to a parent one time, she was yelling at the ref, and I said to her, that kid is the same age as your kid that's playing, your kid that just coughed it up in the offensive zone. In the defensive zone, and the other team scored. That kid is the same age as yours and is being paid $14 to do this game. You're surprised she made a mistake? And the look I got, and then one other parent came up to me after in the bar and was like, no, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, well, this isn't the NHL. And last time I checked, those guys make mistakes too.
Well, that's good that you've learned from your early time in Lauren's hockey career as being glass banger Gary yelling at everyone. Nice to see that you've done a 180, and things will be good. Anyways, good luck on the rest of the way, man. We'll talk to you soon.
One more thing.
Yes. Parting gift.
Okay, so that's what I'm wondering about. Where is my parting gift? Like Remis starts texting me last night. I'm trying to have a nice dinner at one of my favorite Winnipeg restaurants with a few friends, and all of a sudden I start the glass banger dad Remo and his 9 kids playing in my old bouncy castle. He starts hitting me up. I get to the rink at like 7:45 for this hit. No one's here. It's dark. And I'm shivering.
You came at 7:45. Well, listen, coming 3 hours in advance of the morning skate, that's on you.
Where is my WST hoodie?
It is. We've got one for you. Will you wear it, or will you just take it and then re-gift it like you do most of the things that come your way?
No. Well, I regift things that I don't like and that I know other people will like. So give me something good and I'll keep it. Okay. Otherwise, the next time you're on Fremont and the guy that comes up to you with the shaking the coffee cup, he'll be wearing your hoodie.
Get out of here. Good chat as always, man. Take it easy. Gary Lawless, DGK, Knights Jets tonight, 7:00. All right, fun chat with the lawman. Yeah, I'll take an L on that. I don't know why I always thought Big Save Dave was Swiss. You should check. So that one's on me. Usually when I'm going back and forth with Gary, he's the wrong one. But in this case, I will own it. Big Save Dave, check, not Swiss. So I guess they'll get Schmid on the team coming up. All right, JBM's going to join us. I'm excited to look ahead to WST winners on Friday and the NFL playoffs. Big slate in the NHL tonight, which we'll get to in the Cool Bet lines. Before we get to the lines for tonight's game with Clean Line, Remo, Bombers making some moves today. Evan Holm back in blue and gold. That is some very welcome news. Guy is an absolute stud. Very happy he'll be patrolling in the Bombers secondary for the upcoming year.
Yeah, big sign, 2 years for Evan Holm. So he's going to be returning. One coach not returning with the Bombers, Jarius Jackson, who was the QB coach last year. He's taking that position now with Calgary. And this is the start of the CFL window where players can sign with NFL teams. And a couple big receivers moving on to the NFL. Damien Alford, who was the first overall pick in the draft last year with Calgary. He had that big game against the Bombers, actually. Don't have to worry about that, well, at least for now. He signed with the Saints, so that's a loss for Calgary. Dante Myers of the Rough Riders, he signed with the Bengals. And all CFL defensive lineman Jalen Hutchings signed with I think it was the Vikings. I didn't write down the team. It was the futures contract with the Vikings. And there was some speculation about Drew Brown's future in Ottawa with the coaching change. He's restructured his contract for 2026. So so he's going to stick around with the Red Blacks with Ryan Dinwiddie as head coach. So
the CFL taking over in the nation's capital.
Yeah, so the CFL offseason in full swing, the Bombers making moves. So Evan Holm, the big one,
fired up
2 year
fired
deal.
up with Evan Holm back for 2 seasons. That is great news for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. All right, we have a game tonight. It is the Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights, 2 teams who have not been having much luck lately. By my count, in their last 18 games combined, 1 win, and it wasn't the Jets getting that win. But we're dropping the puck tonight at 7 p.m. down at Canada Life Center. Very busy week on tap at the downtown rink. So let's get to our Winnipeg Jets lines for Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Your local leader for over 40 years in both residential and commercial plumbing, heating and cooling as well, and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. Captain approved. Remo, you got the lines?
Oh, yeah, I got him. I'm just putting up that beautiful graphic here.
There's the captain.
Look
at that. One of the great Clean Line billboards that you might see around them. And, of course, you'll see Clean Line on the shovels at the game and on the Jumbotron. Great supporters of the Winnipeg Jets. Great to have Jeremy and the gang on board. All right. So this is the way it's going to look to start off. It's Connor Scheifele with Alex Iafallo. Cole Perfetti, Jonathan Taves, and Gabriel Velarde in line 2. Barron, Lowry, and Niederreiter. Nino back in the lineup after that healthy scratch in the weekend. And Nyquist, Vlad Nemetsnikov, Tanner Pearson, the fourth line. Barron moving to the wing to play with Lowry and Nino Niederreiter. Defense pairings, Morrissey, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, and Fleury and Shen, with, of course, Big Stan suspended for one game. Hellebuck in net. You know, I didn't get a chance to talk about the Stanley suspension yesterday, Reem. What happened to the good old $5,000 fine?
No, he plays for the Jets, Huss. So the Jets get extra. Canadian teams get extra slap on the wrist. It's like the tax that you have to pay. You know, I mentioned this on yesterday's show. It was almost like a WWE segment where Brady Tkachuk like tricks Logan Stanley into punching him, and then he takes off his glove and his hand is wrapped. He's like, "Oh, I can't fight now. I got a wrapped hand." After completely goading him into throwing a punch and getting him suspended for a game. It felt like very WWE to me.
You know what? That incident, the goals for sure, but Stanley mixing it up and doing a few more things like that, not going to hurt his trade value at the trade deadline. I will just say that. More Stan mixing it up, I think, will be a very good thing going forward if he is one of the players on an expiring contract that could potentially be on the move when moves are made closer to the deadline. Now, there you have it. There are Clean Line lines for our friends at Clean Line, the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. Contact them online. It's cleanline.ca, 24-hour emergency service, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We got NFL playoffs we're going to be talking about with Jake in just a second. Be a great weekend to post up at your local Boston Pizza. We got a couple games on Saturday. We got 3 games on Sunday, and then a Monday nighter as well. So as you've been doing all season long, no better place to watch the National Football League than your local BP, ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, great prizes as well. Make a plan to get down to BP for Jets action this week and the NFL on the weekend, staying at home. You can order online and get the great taste of Boston Pizza at bostonpizza.com. And hey, that's the last week remaining of post-holiday sales at Royal Sports. Tons of great deals in the hockey department, in the fan gear department, as well as snowboards with the snowboarding season here upon us. Of course, Royal Sports is Winnipeg's legendary sports superstore with the best Winnipeg Jets merchandise, Bomber merchandise, NFL, and more. The biggest hockey department in town with the experts to help you get the right equipment, stick, merchandise, whatever you need. Not to mention, for those of you that might be hitting the hills at some point, check out all the great deals in the snowboard department as well. All waiting for you at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information this week only. Get in on the deals before they are gone. All right, Jake's ready to go. First up, though, let's give a big New Year's cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. is the third and final qualifying WST Poker Tournament. Top 4 finishers will be in the Costa Rica finals next Monday to join myself and Geoff Hamilton at the Costa Rica Poker Festival at the end of the month. 8 p.m. start time. Would love to see you there, and good luck to everyone that is going to give it another crack to try and get in that final. on January 12th. We'll talk about it more tomorrow, but mark it down, 8 p.m. The cards will be dealt at coolbet.com. Speaking of coolbet.com, let's bring in Coolbet's Jake Boland-Moss, one of my partners on the WST Winners shows, Friday, 10 a.m., getting ready for Wild Card Weekend. And then there were 14. Jake, what's going on, pal? How was the rest of the holidays for you?
Yeah, holidays weren't too bad, Huss. Sorry, I got a dog here. This is what I'm working with right now.
Everyone loves the dog. Oh,
I know people love the dog.
Here we go.
She was barking. She was sitting in my lap. Yeah, holidays were fine. I can't believe we pulled off that Week 18 winner in a week where not a lot of the games mattered. We came away with a three-leg spread parlay. So, kudos to us, pat on the back, and hopefully we can kind of roll that success into Wildcard Weekend.
I was in the sports book after the epic Chiefs-Raider game I attended, watching that Steelers-Ravens game in Canada check at the same point. And, of course, we had the Steelers plus 3.5, and it looked like they had it. We were good. And then Lamar hits Flowers again. They're down by 4. Steelers have no timeouts. They go back, get the touchdown. And then from a betting perspective, the best thing that possibly happened was Boswell missing that convert, because you knew that the chances of overtime were lost at that point. But what a crazy, crazy end to the season. And somehow Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers did it again. And they're going to be in the Monday Nighter against the Houston Texans. And I have to tell you, I actually think that the Texans are live to win the whole thing. I think their defense is a defense that can travel. I could see them going into Denver and winning. I could see them going into New England and winning, which is what you're going to have to do if you're one of the lower seeded teams playing on the road. But I also can see a path that the Pittsburgh Steelers actually win that game on Monday night at home against Houston with the return of DK Metcalf. I was kind of hoping that I would just be auto betting Houston in the first week. I don't know. There's some sort of voodoo. Now, I realize that Tomlin's 0-6 in the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. But Aaron's still, he's got it, man. And the fact they were able to pull that off with like the corpse of Adam Thielen out there, it is a really, really interesting matchup to finish up Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, and Huss, you think about the week before, they lose to the Browns in a game where they just locked that one down, and they're in really good position, and it came down to the final week with the Ravens, and, they find a way to get it done. But, yeah, I think it's a different team with DK Metcalf, obviously. That was part of the problems in Cleveland there where, Rodgers just doesn't have a lot of chemistry with a lot of these other receivers. I think the lead receiver was like Kenneth Gainwell in that game, who was a running back. So, they find a way to get it done, like you said. But I don't know if I can trust Tomlin in the playoffs, Huss. I know Raj is kind of on this last lap here. Some people say, who knows if he's going to come back another year. But I don't know if I can buy, especially with that Houston defense. Everyone's talking about Houston right now. Like, they scored 20 points. They're probably winning the football game because they do not give up a whole lot at any part of the field, especially down in the red zone.
Well, I kind of, and that's the way I've always been feeling about the Texans. I have to admit, I was a little surprised to see Riley Leonard put up, 30 on them last week? That was a surprise. And you know what? They gave up 16 to the Chargers, 21 to the Raiders, which was strange, 20. They've gotten off it a little bit, but I still do think that team led by D'Amico Ryans is very live. But I'm quite intrigued in that matchup. I mean, we'll get to the hockey in just a second. I've got a 3-gamer that we put together. We started off with the Rams and Panthers. I think that one opened at 9.5 or 10. It's now 10.5. Interesting to note that the Panthers beat the Rams in Carolina earlier this year. One of their big wins, an unexpected win that ended up getting them in a position that they were to win the division. And how about this, dude? Packers, Bears, round 3, straight up pick 'em, -109, -109. I'm not, I was in Vegas, so I couldn't see the cool bet lines. I know that this one opened in a lot of places as the Packers like a 1.5 point favorite. Quickly bet, and this does make sense that this one basically is a pick 'em from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, both games they played ended up coming down to the wire. It's something about the Bears and the Packers where I have a hard time getting away from the Packers, even with the injuries they sustained. But I don't know. The problem with the Bears right now is they can't stop a nosebleed. Like, their defense has struggled down the stretch here. And you look back to that San Fran game, and they couldn't get a stop if their life depended on it. Like, Brock Purdy was gashing them up and down the field. And you watch the next week with San Fran playing Seattle, and they can't get anything going. So, is it more a detriment to, what's going on with the Niners, or is that something that, the Bears defense is truly that poor? So I know, you listen to Big Cat, and he says the Bears got to turn a team over probably a couple times to win a football game. And that's not always the case in the playoffs when teams are really taking care of the football and the focus levels are a lot higher. So I don't know. I think until I see the Bears really, conquer those demons, I'm going to have a hard time betting against the Packers in that spot.
Yeah, well, that's the Saturday night game. The game that the Texans are normally in, the AFC South Bowl, will actually be the NFC South Bowl this year with the Rams-Panthers Saturday afternoon, Bears-Packers Saturday night. And then we start off a triple header on Sunday, one of the best days of the year. Bills at Jags. Bills are a 1-point favorite. Is there anybody with even remotely close to as much pressure on them as Josh Allen right now? The boogeyman Mahomes isn't in the playoffs. Joe Burrow's not there. Lamar's not there. If this is not the year for Allen and the Buffalo Bills, I'm not sure it ever happens. But they've got a tough spot going in against the Jags team that has been incredible in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I don't think this is an absolute easy first-round wildcard weekend win for the Buffalo Bills. But like you said, Huss, all the scary things that have come up for the Bills in recent years aren't there this year. There's no Patrick Mahomes at Kansas City Chiefs. There's no, Lamar Jackson and Baltimore. There's no Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Like, this is the open door. Like, the most experience right now in the AFC when it comes to the playoffs is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you think about Aaron Rodgers, yes, but that's a different team with the Steelers. It's been Josh Allen and these Bills for a long time, a steady playoff team here, and a constant division winner. They got to go on the road. They got to go to Jacksonville. I don't think you should discredit the Jacksonville Jaguars given the way they've played, especially down the stretch. But you're right, Huss. It feels like now or never for the Buffalo Bills to, maybe not win the Super Bowl, but at least get to the dance. Give yourself a chance, given the inexperience across the AFC right now when it comes to the playoffs. That
31st ranked run defense will be an issue. They're going to need to figure that out. And as I say, Trevor Lawrence has been rolling right now. This is not a game that they'll walk over, even though they are a very slight favorite on the road against the Jags. The line that I was the most surprised with of all of them is the Niners. 4.5, 5-point dogs in Philly in that game on Sunday afternoon. I'm not sure if this is just a big overreaction to a game that they just got stuffed against a hell of a Seattle defense. Now, Philly's defense is legit too. But man, I thought this would be more like a 3-point game or maybe even less, not laying 4.5 with the Purdy and the Niners on the road against the Eagles.
You know what? I think this number's actually moved, Huss. I don't remember it being 4.5 yesterday, so might have jumped a point already from 3.5 to 4.5. I kind of lean with you, Huss. Like, the Eagles' defense, like you mentioned, a strong unit, but the Eagles' offense has really struggled most of the season. The Niners obviously got banged up on the defensive side of the ball, and that's kind of been their struggles here. Getting stops. I know they played a low-scoring one against Seattle last week for a chance of the 1 seed. It's really become a tough uphill battle for the Niners now, going from, the opportunity to have the 1 seed, home field advantage the whole way through, including the Super Bowl. Now they got to go on the road as the 6th seed and go up against the former Super Bowl champs. 4.5 is a pretty big number. I probably lean Niners as it currently sits. And we'll see. We'll see if the money starts to swing back on the Niners and force that line to move once again. But I don't know. That's one of the tougher games to read because you never know what Eagles team you're going to get. Like it's a Dr. Jekyll or whatever that saying is, Jekyll and Hyde type
Jekyll
of team.
and Hyde,
where
yes, indeed.
the Jekyll and Hyde, like it's a tough team to read. Sometimes they're awesome and sometimes they're lackluster, but they found ways to win football games. They won the division and they earned themselves a chance at the 3 seed and a home playoff game.
I do think your boys, the New England Patriots, have a pretty nice early matchup. They're minus 200 on the money line, 3.5-point favorites at home to the Chargers. This is a tough spot for LA, moving or flying all the way across the country. Cold weather, night game. I think Mike Vrabel and the Patriots in a real good spot, and I know we'll be breaking that one down when we fire up the playoff edition, the first playoff edition of WST Winners coming up on Friday, 10 a.m. Mark it down, myself, Jake, and Pat. Try and continue our winning ways, finishing up the season with that 3-gamer, and we'll put together a bunch of fun stuff for the weekend in the National Football League. Moving over to the NHL, I'll tell you right off the bat, gang, I do have a 3-gamer tonight. Needless to say, with what's happening with the Jets, I've been staying away from betting the Jets lately, and thankfully for that, because there would have been no winners whatsoever. But one of the games that I'm going on tonight is actually fading your Leafs. And not necessarily a fade of the Leafs, but to me, Florida at minus 116, coming off only being the third team all season long to beat the Avalanche. This one's at minus 116 right now. We saw the Leafs pull the Houdini act against the Jets on Saturday night. What's the latest on the Buds going into this one against the Panthers?
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing better hockey as of late. They had the lead over the Islanders, couldn't find a way to close that one out, and just got the point with the overtime loss on, Matthew Schaefer kind of taking care of business there for the Islanders. Austin Matthews has looked like a different human over the last, 2 weeks or so, probably 7 or 8 games where all of a sudden you're starting to see the old Matthews, the release. I think, the Jets got a bit of a taste of that as well, where he just looks way more engaged and way more of the Austin Matthews we've seen in the past, back when he scored almost 70 goals. So I listen, I don't disagree with you. I think Florida's been playing really good hockey, but it's just crazy how tight that Eastern Conference is. And, we were talking about this, say a month and a half ago, where we're like, the Eastern Conference can't stay like this forever. And then I'm seeing stats today where there's no team with a losing record in the Eastern Conference. And you look at the points breakdown, and everything is so tight. Like teams are 1 or 2 wins out of playoff spots from the bottom of the conference all the way up to the top. So it's pretty wild right now. It's it's not the Wild West, it's the Wild East. And it'll be interesting to see how they play tonight against a Panthers team like you mentioned has really come on as of late.
There's 11 points separating first in the East, the Detroit Red Wings, funny enough, 54 points, to the Columbus Blue Jackets, 43 points. And the Blue Jackets have 3 games in hand on Detroit. I mean, it is nuts, which makes it that much more bananas that the Jets are where they are. And, of course, you got these 3 teams in the Central, who would all be first overall all in the East division right now with Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota. Other games tonight on our Cool Bet lines. Vancouver's in Buffalo. Sabres have revived their season, still right in the mix. They're minus 169 at home. Dallas and Carolina should be a great game tonight. Dallas plus 118, Carolina minus 139. Ducks in Philly at minus 148 for the Flyers being the home favorite. Avalanche Lightning, that'll be a hell of a game. Lightning have won 7 in a row. Colorado minus 114, Tampa minus 103. Devils against the Islanders. Devils minus 115, Islanders minus 102. We mentioned that Panthers slight road favorites over the Leafs. This Jets game, Jets may be 32nd overall. They are still only a pick'em against the Vegas Golden Knights. Jets minus 110, Vegas minus 108. Edmonton owns the Nashville Predators. Oilers are at home tonight. How about Mangiapane and Trent Frederick? Both healthy scratches. Dude, Frederick is on an 8-year deal with a full no move. I mean, that's a rough start to his time in oil country.
Listen, I mean, Oilers fans and Leaf fans, historically haven't gotten along. But if I know one thing, it's bad contracts. So I feel for them in that aspect. You don't know, what are you going to get out of this guy over the next 8 years, Huss? Because what are we in year one of that deal, and he's getting healthy scratch. Mangiapane came in on this year on a deal, and I think there was already discussions with him. Them allowing his agent to go and talk with other teams and work something out. So maybe he's on the move. Yeah, it's been a rough one. I mean, obviously the big boys kind of carry that team, and that's what they need. But I think I do remember Leon Draisaitl owns the Nashville Predators. That might be the guy we circled tonight. I think he's plus 109 to score. Yeah, plus 109 to score. What's his 2 points? Minus 114. I think I'd rather take the goal in that instance, take the plus money. But yeah, some short odds in the player props tonight in the Nashville Oilers game.
Yeah, the McDavid over 2.5 points is plus 220. Just feel free to think about that. I mean, Leon will probably get his, and Connor will get his. Other games, two intriguing home dogs on the West Coast. Sharks plus 110, home to the Columbus Blue Jackets at minus 130, and the Bruins are minus 119 against the Kraken, who've won a couple lately. Kraken plus 101. I'm just looking at the cup odds right now. And, we've been sitting here talking about how the Jets at the midway point, 32nd, this isn't the year. This is incredible. I just mentioned that the Detroit Red Wings are first overall, first in the East. The Jets have shorter numbers to win the cup than the Detroit Red Wings. This is a list of teams for people that, and follow the money. I mean, the bookies, they're the ones that are taking the action on it. Teams that have a greater Stanley Cup number than the Jets. Montreal, Detroit, Anaheim, who's been comfortably in a playoff spot all year long. The Islanders, Buffalo, Utah, in the Jets division right there. Philly, Columbus, Nashville, Calgary, Pittsburgh, Boston. Boston's 400 to 1. St. Louis, Vancouver, Seattle, Chicago, and San Jose. So while many of us, myself included, have resigned myself to the fact that this is not the year, that has not yet been shown on the Stanley Cup odds right now. And I'm certainly not telling people, hey, go and get on the Jets at 65 to 1. But I will tell you, I mean, the bottom line is when we look at that list, to me, it's Colorado at plus 250 and then sort of everyone else. Interestingly, though, that Colorado has been so good that Dallas is at 19 to 1 and Minnesota 25 to 1. Those two teams will be playing each other in the first round, but pretty big numbers for teams that are second and third overall, but that just speaks to how dominant Colorado has been all season.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy, you look at the top of the cup odds, and Colorado's plus 250. How often do we see a number like that at this point of the season? So much can still happen between now and the playoffs. You don't know what can happen. Obviously, you don't wish upon injuries, but listen, it's a crazy world out there. I know they've been dominant, but you got to remember too, the President's Trophy isn't always the big prize, Huss. You come out on top of the league. It's pretty rare that you're also winning the Stanley Cup along the way. So, is it one of those situations say, for instance, the NBA last year where the Oklahoma City Thunder were just the absolute best team and they just rolled their way to a championship, which, I mean, finals went 7 games against the Pacers, so they didn't really it wasn't really the easiest championship. Or are we going to see a team from, the next wave there kind of find a way to knock off Colorado, whether it's in, first, second, third, or Stanley Cup final?
I have put together a little ride with Huss. It's up right at the top of the combo cards for tonight's action. We're taking Edmonton over Nashville. They always beat Nashville, and it's usually ugly. We're taking the Panthers, as we mentioned, over the Leafs. And we're going to ride with San Jose on the money line at home as a little home dog on the West Coast. That's got a nice one right now. I actually bet it just a couple minutes ago, and it's gone up again. It is boosted now from plus 556 to plus 640. So you can jump on that. Already have a few combo cards ready for the weekend in the Saturday games. And, of course, we've also got all the playoff action. And we're going to be jumping into that on Friday, locked and loaded for, the extended wildcard weekend now with the Monday Nighter. Right up there with the best football weekends of the year. I always maintain the best day of the year is the AFC and NFC championship game. The divisional weekend is amazing, but getting the 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and then a Monday Nighter, all of playoff football shaping up. As much as I'm disappointed my team is involved and I'm a playoff free agent, I'm pretty fired up for the slate of games. Some real beauties, some tight spreads. It should be amazing, and that's going to make Friday at 10 a.m. on WST that much more fun when we get together with Patty for some more picks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. When do you make your official decision? Are you going to make it on Friday? Your free agent decision? Are you going to lock in a bet to ride with that team? What is that going to look like?
Well, the funny thing is I did lock in the Texans last week. I just thought that they were the best value team. And as I said, I think their defense travels. I think that they can win. I will definitely be I'm going to have to make an AFC and an NFC bet and a Super Bowl bet as well, which I will lock in before the playoffs begin. And I will drop those on WST winners as well. And, of course, we got 6 great games, so we'll be able to cook up some good stuff for the exclusives, as well as in the combo cards. Jake, great stuff. Anything else for us before we roll? I'm locked in. I'm thinking this hockey game tonight, this combo, and then tomorrow's poker tourney with the last chance to get in for the Costa Rica final.
No, yeah, I was going to mention the poker tourney one more time, but you beat me to it. So, nothing until Friday. We'll chat then on the NFL wildcard weekend.
Beautiful, pal. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you then.
Sounds good. See you, boys.
There's Jake Boland-Moss at Jake Boland-Moss on X, and of course, make sure you're following at CoolBet Canada, cranking out everything that we're putting together with the boosted parlays and more. If you haven't played a CoolBet before, use the promo code WST, 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Reem, what? Were you as shocked as I was at where the Jets are in the Stanley Cup odds, considering where they are in the standings and the amount of teams that are behind them?
I think I was more surprised that Detroit was lower than them. You just said they were number 1.
They're the first place team in the East. They're the 1 seed right now.
Yeah, and they have 70-1 Cup
They're
odds?
75-1.
Yeah,
Jets are 32nd of 32 teams. They're 65.
Yeah, I think I'm more surprised that the Red Wings are lower. But, the Jets, obviously a lot of
Habs are in a playoff spot as well. Habs are in a playoff spot. They're 2 points back of Detroit with 2 games in hand. They're also 75-1. No, I don't think any of these teams are winning. But it certainly doesn't really reflect where things are in the standings right now. So
no,
maybe there's some good value on those cup bets if you want. You can check that out in the NHL section over at CoolBet. You're in the building tonight?
Yes, I'm going. My dad invited me to go, and could we be witnessing history tonight? Winnipeg Jets, 10-game losing streak, or will it be snapped against Vegas? But I was looking at the game notes, Huss. This is the first of 3 meetings with Vegas this year. And where was it? I had the last time the Jets won, but in the last 10 games against Vegas, 2-6-2 are the Jets, 1-3-1 in their last 5, and the last 4 at Canada Life Center, the Jets have lost against Vegas. So history not looking great, but hey, Vegas somehow not playing very well lately, and the Jets got to win at some point. I mean, I took...
We're due. There's never been a more due team than Winnipeg right now.
I think Friday might be for WST night, but it would be nice to get one before. We need one for WST night because we won every game last year when we went out.
It's a very different year this year, as we discussed off the top of the show with Sean Reynolds, with Gary. A very different year right now. But, yeah, listen, I'm looking forward to getting out to all the games this week. I mean, we got Edmonton in town on Thursday, which is always fun. And then the Kings on Friday. If you want to join us up in the WST section, winnipegjets.com/WST. We'll get together before the game and then hopefully see a good one. I'm not as invested in the wins and losses now for obvious reasons, but still there's nothing like getting together with the gang for NHL hockey downtown. I will be there tonight up in the Upper Bowl. Hope to see some of you there. But it is a game night, so we want to get this podcast up right away. Thanks to everyone that joined us today. Great crowd in. We'll do it again tomorrow. And speaking of NFL, Fienberg's joining us tomorrow, which should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to talking to him. But big appreciation to Gary Lawless, Sean Reynolds, Jake Boland-Moss, of course, Michael Remis. Connor's got a great setup as well. Connor was down at the morning skate as well today. And thanks to Connor. Great job on the show the last couple days. He'll also be filling in for me later on this month when Hammer and I are down trying to win some money in Costa Rica in the big poker tourney tomorrow, 8 p.m., last qualifier. Join us tomorrow for that. And a huge thanks to the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. That is going to do it for us, folks. Fun show. I mean, a lot of conversations. It's shocking that we're having right now early in January, but we are where we are. Game 41 tonight of the Winnipeg Jets. We'll see whether they can get that elusive 16th win that has eluded them for about the last 3 weeks. We'll talk about it tomorrow right here at 1 p.m. on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Hope to see you then. Enjoy the game tonight. Thanks for being with us, and we'll catch you tomorrow on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.